Hello, and welcome to part 28 of West Goldfield on City Skylines II. Now today, right off the bat, I do want to correct this mistake I made. I accidentally made two off-ramps for this highway, which was not my intention. So what I'm going to do is convert both of these ramps to be on-ramps. Even though I was struggling for a minute, but I did also shrink down this road going across, just because this area is going to become pretty important. Now what I want to do is actually start laying down some of the infrastructure. But before I do that, I do think it makes sense to take this sort of main road and connect it up here. And there we go. We've cleared up a little bit of space here because I noticed that the grade starting here and ending here was about the same. So I think that it would make sense to originally develop here. Now first I do want to check on the air pollution because I do know we have a geothermal plant. And it actually seems like there is no air pollution. I'm sorry, that's ground pollution. If we check on the air pollution, it seems like it's not minimal, but it shouldn't prove too much of an issue, especially if we put something like commercial and then offices here too, which I think that would probably make sense to have sort of a central commercial district, as there are people that live here, people that live all over here, and eventually people are going to live here. So that would be pretty central. So I think that we can start by building some offices and high density businesses there, although they might not zone in. They will later. I also just want to check on the gradient over here and see if this is also equal. And it seems like it's actually somewhat similar. So I will actually flatten this too. Now I do think we could also build houses over here, especially if we expand this main road to go down. Now again, as there is a highway here, I do want to have some amount of buffer zone, but what we should immediately do is actually place sound barriers. Now this should help with noise pollution, and also just make the area a little more habitable. Now something else I did think about doing was maybe placing an emergency battery station over here as a buffer zone, but as we can see, they are pretty large and it would not fit. So I think what we'll do instead is just stick towards having low rent housing on the edge and then more high density, medium density in the middle. And there we go. That is among the first homes we have zoned over here. And I do think this area is going to grow extremely fast, as it is in a pretty good location to do so. I mean, it's surrounded by highways and expressways, but still not too isolated because it has a good amount of connection to everywhere else. Again, because of those highways and expressways. Now, I do want to check on our telecom because I haven't looked at it in a while, and it honestly isn't looking great. And I do think it's now to the point where it might actually make sense to build a server farm. So what we're going to do is go into our development and then research the server farm. Now, it's a building that is going to provide coverage for a sort of smaller area, but it's going to have much more capacity when it does. So I do think we should actually place it like here, and I think that's actually a pretty nice spot for it. Again, as it is sort of acting like a buffer zone. Now immediately, I do want to increase the area of the server farm. As we can see, it has much more coverage. I do think it would also make sense to build one sort of over here. And I do think that is fitting for the amount of offices we have, and because there is a college. The only problem is, though, there isn't really a ton of space, and where there is space, I'm not sure if I necessarily want to do it, because this is meant to be a high-density city. But this area does actually seem like it is quite suited, as it fits the footprint. So I think I will build it right here. Now again, we see we have plenty of demand, so I do want to continue to develop this area. Again, though, we are seeing traffic is just completely locked up, really. Especially over here. Which, it's actually not as bad as I thought it would be, but still not looking great. Now, the area I'm surprised is actually doing as great as it is over here. When I built this, I knew it was going to have a high capacity and actually solve a lot of our issues, but I didn't think it was going to do it this well, as there's still quite a few intersections, pretty much just two right next to each other, another one close by here, and another one here. But, surprisingly, it's worked, and I'm really glad. Now what I did there was also rebalance zones so that we can make sure this area has sufficient services. Which, as we see, a person has already died and is waiting for a hearse. And it actually has already arrived. Now I do want to continue to build medium density, but on the street I don't think I want to build, on this pretty important street, I do not think I want to build just regular medium density, but rather these medium density homes with businesses in them. The accidents really just do not stop, and I really try my best to make areas safer, with advanced intersections, lots of roundabouts, pretty good pedestrian infrastructure, but no, people just love to keep crashing their cars. And somehow setting them on fire. How do you set a car on fire when you crash it? I mean, like, seriously, what is going on? Anyways, we are seeing this area is becoming extremely congested. More than it really should be for, a highway bringing people right towards where they need to go. So I do think I want to actually get rid of this building because we are probably going to need a ton of space for traffic fixes. So now I do think I will first try a roundabout and hope that fixes our issue. But we are still somehow seeing there are already a ton of pedestrians. Now, that is actually pretty shocking to me, as I really just did not expect that. Now, I think this has sort of helped the issue, but not a ton. I also do want to do a little bit of detailing to make the area look nicer. Who knew rotating a rock could actually crash the game? Vanilla rock too, but let's just try that again. Now, something else I do... Hold up, pause on that. What is going on over here? Oh, okay, that's just moving in traffic. As we can see, everything over here is jammed up as people are trying to move into the city. So I do want to pause on growing this city for now, but I do still want to talk about it. As we know, we still have another signature building to build over here. And I do think this would maybe be an alright spot to place it, just right here. But I'm not going to do it now because, again, way too many people are trying to move in. And everything is really just going to get jammed up. I mean, seriously, you can see over here is jammed up. Over here is going to be jammed up. This highway is over here, over here. And this intersection was designed to do a lot, but it is seemingly not working. Now, I do think the problem is actually with pedestrians, but I am not even sure where these pedestrians are walking to. Something else I am seeing is that this bus line over here is pretty full and pretty jammed up. Now, I do think this could be solved, and especially the pedestrian problems too, through just adding more buses. Now I can see some of the traffic problems are clearing up. What I think we can do in the meantime is build buildings where people don't move into, such as commercial and offices. Now I do just want to check, we do not have any new office buildings that are signature buildings that we are able to build yet. So I think we can just build normal offices and commercial over here. Now I do want to have a little bit of a buffer zone between where people live and the commercial. So I will put some more offices here and then commercial zones over here. There, I just built a ton of commercial buildings, and that didn't do a thing to demand, which makes me want to check on it, and it seems like there just is going to be like a million hotels that are going to build here, because it claims hotel demand. Actually, I think this right here might be a hotel, but I think even if it is, that's the only one that would build it. I mean, still, not even a dent into our commercial demand. So I do think I want to pause on building commercial because I feel like this might be some sort of game glitch. But in the future, we might even build more if it isn't. Again, though, we are seeing office demand climb right back up, and traffic problems are easing just a little bit. So I do think we could build the signature building now. I think this will be like the furthest we build into this area, just because there is quite a few things that you wouldn't necessarily want to live near, such as train tracks, highways, and maybe even power lines. So I'll shrink this road, and I think what we'll put on this road is probably just a few parks, or maybe a few circuses. Eventually, though, I do think I would like to put a bus line running through this kind of area in the city, and definitely a metro, which is why I left this space clear. Actually, I think we could build the metro now. And there we go. We made the new line, and I also upgraded a few of our already existing tram lines by adding the food area. Well, station services rather, but that increases the comfort, meaning more people will use it. Now I do just want to add some more buildings here. And there we go. And as we can see, this area is already bustling with activity. And I do think this area is mostly kind of clearing up. I mean, because this area was kind of held back and the cars now appeared, instead of in a constant, slow way, it is going to be backed up for a bit. But I think it's alright. We'll see that it will go away. Now, I do not think there are any other changes we can make that would make this area faster. We cannot fit a roundabout here, so yeah. I think actually one thing we could do, get rid of the double crosswalk, and honestly just make it stop signs. I think that would be the better option. And as we can see, this bus is sort of holding up all the traffic, but it is going away now. And again, services really aren't arriving because of traffic. Something I think is interesting is that this smaller building can hold just as many people as this taller one. But it's not super important. And I do think I will put a few offices here too. I did also add a little underpass under here, because walking along this road would A, create traffic, and B, also be dangerous. So with that change, people will be able to eventually get from here to over here safely. Now, as we can see, again, traffic has somewhat cleared up. Over here is still backed up, but that is probably because of the extra buses, honestly, and inherently the people it spawns with it, but I'm sure we will see it clear up eventually. I do think because this highway is free that we can actually add one more building right now. There seems to be less problems over here, such as traffic, so I do think it makes sense to continue developing over here, while traffic builds over here. Now if we look at our college, we can see not quite as many people have been using it. Now something else I would like to look into is how many people are eligible for university. And it's a pretty similar number to college, and if the same amount of people attend the university as they attend the college, I think it's going to be pretty worth it. Now, that means we do have to look into our university using development points. And we do have to allocate a large amount of space to it. Now, I don't want to continue to develop like huge buildings over here, just because this is meant to be a high density city, not a low density area where people from the high density cities can come into to learn. So I think instead, it might make sense to place it somewhere like here or over here. Now this patch of land seems to actually be quite fitting for this, and as we know, it has some pretty good connections. it has an expressway here. Maybe we could even add a highway exit. And it has a metro line running right here. Of course, it has a city over here, a city over here, and a pretty accessible city over here that could go over here. So I do think this is going to be the place to build it. And now I do just want to look into the specific, area. Now we could maybe build it here and it would be a pretty tight fit. But I do think it makes more sense to build it here and maybe just have libraries on the other side, along with some housing. Now, of course, because it is a university and people are learning, we are going to build some noise barriers. And now, I think we can look into the upgrades. But first, we should probably level out the area. If we look at our upgrades, we can see that we have extension wings, parks, and a library. Now the libraries we can actually build multiple of, and it actually does reach over here. I believe the same thing can be said for the park. Now I do want to make this a somewhat realistic university, so I will definitely build the park and libraries, but I do think I want to add a few fields. I think a football field is going to be necessary because I believe commonly soccer can also be played on them. So I think we can build one probably here, or maybe even somewhere like here. As we can see, there isn't a ton of park entertainment in this area, and that would actually also solve our issue completely. It is also worth mentioning that already almost 4,000 people are attending our university. For the libraries, I think we can build them connected right up. Now, I do think we should also build the university park. Now, I do think I will move this building, and I will build it in the middle. And there we go. It is also worth mentioning, I did actually connect these two bodies of water, which should also give us a lot of new area with higher land value by default. As we can see, if we look around, the land value just in this area is already just insanely high. And all of these commercial shops, even though it isn't in a super great area, as there is a geothermal plant right there, we can see that its land value is just absolutely through the roof. Because there is water, businesses, and I guess just a lot of surrounding amenities. Now I do think eventually we will have to break off this area from Coleridge Mills, but for now we can leave it. Now as far as housing for the university students, I think that is actually something we can look into next time, as this is a good place to leave off the video. Anyways, that's the end of this video, and I really want to thank you for watching through the whole thing. It really means a lot. In the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them down below, and have yourself a great day.